Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenya Revolutionary coming you with another session, okay? Briefly on the political alignment or possible, well, not possible because we know we are going to have political alignments in Kenya ahead of 2027. So that's what we are going to talk about. Then I will start with the appetizer, okay? Like I usually tell you, before we get to the main meal, we have to have an appetizer, the stuff that we talk about before we get to the real meal, okay? And it's always interrelated, okay? We are going to have a healthy nutritional dose of political nutrition. I'm your political dietitian. So karibuni sana. My name is Kenya Revolutionary. If you like Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya, here's a place for you. So karibuni sana. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, and do all the good stuff, okay? And for those of you who have already subscribed, please, you know the first order of business is to like the video. Ama namna gani? All right. Let's get to what we are here to talk about, all right? Now, this is what I kind of noticed with what this past weekend, this past few days that we had this a bunch of conventions. Okay, we had the Law Society convention, we had the governors convention down in Homa Bay, and there was a common theme here. Everyone seems to highlight everything that's going wrong with Kenya, but there's one thing, the common denominator, okay, which I don't know, it's not been addressed. It's like, let me just explain myself in a bit. Give me a few minutes. I know you're coming in. Some of you are just getting the notification. That's why I keep on telling you guys, please make sure you put the notification all the time. You always get notified that I'm on. So this guy, I'm frozen. Kawaida. Are we back? All right, we'll give it a second. We'll be back. Don't worry about it. It's a little, and anyway, by the way, for those of you who versus someone else. Okay, I'm back. Can you see me? All right, let's fix that. Wanajaribu kuninio. Oh, I know why it's doing this. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on. Just give me a few seconds. Just give me a few seconds, and I'll fix it in a few minutes. All right, here it is. All right, we are back in business. Karibuni sana. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, I'm back. So I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Let's just get to the matter. Like I said, we are going to briefly discuss about the political realignments in Kenya ahead of 2027. But the discussion I want to have before that, the point that I want to make before we actually address the political alignment that we are possibly going to have in 2027, is what was being discussed yesterday. Like I mentioned, we had the Homa Bay gubernatorial governor, whatever, devolution convention down in Homa Bay. And then we did have some Law Society convention down in somewhere in Nairobi, I think, if I'm not wrong. And the theme was there was a common theme within all every speech that was being discussed, whether it was Raila Odinga, Orengo, Millie, the president, Sifuna, all the headliners, Faith Odhiambo, whatever the case is, the head of LSK, there seems to be the same thing. They're kind of saying the same thing in not so many words. And the theme is everyone is complaining about corruption. Everyone is complaining about corruption and how the system is corrupt. When Raila Odinga stands up, he says, okay, this whatever is corrupt. The president gets up and says, the parliament is corrupt when they're being bought off. When Sifuna gets up, he says, the DCI, DCP, whatever the case is, the police are corrupt. I mean, Musalia Mudavadi gets up, it's like, they're corrupt. I mean, what is it? Then if you look at the news, you know, the headlines or the clips that were going from, you know, the discussion, morning shows, the people who are analyzing what was happening in the news, it was the same thing. They're complaining about corruption. Everyone is corrupt, and it's the blame. This group of people, whether it's Raila pointing the finger to the governors pointing the fingers at MPs finger, executive pointing the finger at the National Assembly, pointing a finger at the DCI is pointing a finger at the judiciary. It's just a blame game. Everyone is pointing fingers at each other, and the common denominator is there is corruption. They agree that there is corruption. So, to me, it felt like tumekaa kwa nyumba moja, okay, we are in one room, and somebody has lost his wallet, okay? Na hakuna mtu ameondoka. We know that one of us have the wallet, okay? But everyone is complaining, shida, kuna wizi nafanyika. Chambwe to look at the cameras to find who's culpable for this. Sisi tumekaa tu tunasema, wizi inafanyika, but no one take initiative to find out who actually. That's the kind of analogy that I would apply. Government is complaining about that arm of government, this arm of government is complaining. How do we solve it? If everyone is talking about there's theft, there's corruption, there's corruption, MPs are being bribed, whoa, governors are being bribed, governors are eating money, whoa, the executive is corrupt, they're eating money, whoa, the treasury, whoa, the judiciary is corrupt, whoa. Why are we not solving it then? That's why I take issue with people like Sifuna, who came out and, he gives a wonderful speech and asema anatoa kifua. But again, I find these people disingenuous, because how can you, for example, I usually make this point that how can you be principally at odds with your party and still stick to the party that is in a political marriage arrangement with this very regime that you are accusing of all these things, whether it's corruption or tribalism or whatever the case is? I mean, if you mean what you say, quit. Run as an independent. Be principled. Prove to the people that you are you stand for something. If you stay and stick with them, that proves that, you know what, you're comfortable where you are. It's fashionable to talk about corruption, but how about you do something about it? You're in a position where you can actually do something about it. You told us that you're actually Ruto's boss, or the governor's boss, these governors that you're talking about that are corrupt. Yeah? And apparently Raila was telling people, he's telling senators not to summon these governors kuulizwa maswali about their about the So you see, that's the kind of that's the number one thing that I want to actually put out there. Okay, something that is so obvious. No, they're working overtime. Hey, mnajaribu leo. This guy really. Kuna mtu aliandikwa kazi anasema lazima has to take this Ninio down. Deal with. But it's okay. Okay. But anyway, let me start with Orengo's speech. I want to start with Orengo's speech. It was good to see that he's seemed to be okay. He can speak. He can function, relatively speaking. Let's start with his speech when he was giving that Ninio at that devolution conference. We know what it was all about. Tuanze na Orengo. Orengo was saying some things that I found interesting. Orengo, tuanze. Ndio hiyo. Tegeni masikio.
Of our country. I want you to reflect on particularly the Bill of Rights and tell us, do you think as a country we have made steps forward or are we making steps back? Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. It's a big panel. I'm honored to be with the colleagues that see here. And I'll try to be as brief as possible. One, uh, which is part of chapter 4 of the part of the Kenya's democratic state. Now, without taking too much time, if you look at the main, human rights concerns and which rights are there in the Constitution, even if you look at the order in which they're spelled out in the Constitution, the right to life.
These all in one fancy fancy pants.
About that.
My Credit Karma are what's trending. No cap.
Zero caps.
Mpaka commercial pia tucheze. All right, we're back. Hold
the
on.
right to dignity, of assembly and administration. If I just take that lot of rights and examine what has happened to those rights in the last 10 years or so, I think we can generally say we are not there yet. We are constantly experiencing a situation where the state is constantly invading into these rights, and without the vigilance of the people, it is so easy in the Kenyan situation to make one step ahead and two steps back. But my comfort is that our constitution has stayed intact. If you are aware, during the constitution making process, before it went to the people, it was taken to Parliament for consideration. Parliament considered nearly 100 amendments to the Constitution. And ever since, there have been attempts to amend the Constitution. I think it is part of our achievement that this Constitution has remained intact, and particularly the Bill of Rights. It is important that all of us realize the centrality of the human rights. It pervades our life, and it is found from the very beginning clauses of the Constitution, right up to the last clauses of the Constitution, so that we can build monuments, we can build roads, but without respecting human rights, we cannot build the kind of society which is spelled out in Article 3 of the Constitution, that we are a democratic, multi-party state. And I want to end up by giving this example. If you go to a place like Russia, somebody like Joseph Stalin built a lot of monuments, which you can see up to now. If you go to South Africa, you can point monuments that the evil regime of apartheid left behind. But because of their human rights record, that record is still a permanent feature of the leadership of Stalin and the leadership of the racist regime in South Africa. And the main concern for us as a country now, and looking at what I saw in the front pages of papers today, we must always be careful that building a nation is not a brick and mortar kind of exercise. What is important and what is spelled out in our preamble, what is spelled out in Article 10 of the Constitution about principles and values of good governance is that there are some core values that must become an integral part of our democratic state. And central to it is human rights. Thank you.
Asante sana. Indeed.
So what Orengo basically said is something that is expected of him as a lawyer, sounding, you know, reminding Kenyans basically that the importance of the Constitution and human rights taking a center stage of how we apply our laws and how this Constitution was designed to center on. Now, like I said, my problem is not so much of, I'm not worried about this. I'm not concerned really. Not that I'm not concerned. I'm not impressed with these wonderful speeches. Okay, this is what we expect these lawyerly governors, or at least like the likes of Orengo, to come and say in public forum. My beef with a lot of these individuals who have been voted in public office is that they talk a good talk, they complain about the ills, the social ills, or the constitutional breach that is happening in every aspect of every level of governance, every branch of government. But they seem to fail to address it or come up with a solution or act upon what needs to be done. It's one thing to stand up there and tell us that, oh, wow, the parliament is corrupt, like Bruto told us, okay? That is, some parliamentarians are taking bribes. Well, if they are, then why are they not arrested? Why don't we have them out of office? Okay, why are they still qualified to run for a re-election? Okay, because by all accounts, they don't qualify for Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Why is this not happening? Oh, now we are going to blame the DCI. We are going to you see what I'm saying? It's fashionable to complain about what's wrong with Kenya, but nothing to actually do something about it. Okay, so it's a game. It's a game that is being played, and it kind of, not kind of, but it ties in with this whole political realignment ahead of 2027, because these people who are complaining, let me just use the ODM MOU, for example, you know, especially the likes of Ole Dakima, Ole Ladama, whatever his name is, and Sifuna, to be exact, since Sifuna is the poster boy of the perceived rebellion within ODM party. Okay, again, he goes to public, speaks eloquently, mentioning all these things that are wrong with this administration, while the party that you belong to is in an agreement, MOU, working agreement with the very president who you are accusing of doing all these things, breaking this constitution, breaking the rule of law. You see what I'm saying? You can't be complaining it's like where unaenda in public, you're going every day, you're going on public complaining about your wife or your husband. Okay? While saying, okay, if you keep complaining, unatuambia bibi yako mchawi, bibi yako doesn't take care of, bibi yako divorce. That's what people are saying. You know. Sorry. Yes, I'm freezing again. Again, freezing. Don't worry about it. They're working hard. This is pinheads. We'll get it right. Don't worry about it. We have it. Tuko sawa. There you go. Tuko sawa. You're not going to win this fight. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying. Again, to use that marriage analogy, thinking about your spouse, how inconsiderate, how selfish, how bad they are mistreating you for years while you are still in the marriage. You know, if you can't work it out and you've tried to go for therapy and you've tried to talk to your husband or whatever, your spouse or whatever the case is, to improve things, then there's always an option of doing what? Divorcing from that marriage. Okay, because it doesn't make sense for you to go in public running around complaining about what your spouse is doing wrong. We don't care. We don't want to hear you because we've had enough of that crap. Take action, then we'll believe you. If you do, that applies to Funa. And all these pinheads that are running around trying to tell us about how awful Ruto's regime is. Make up your mind. You are in a political marriage with him, MOU. Okay? But again, like we've discussion saying that he might be align himself with the Kalonzo, Gachagua, and possibly Matiang'i, whatever the case is, the united opposition, those idiots that are pretending to be opposition in Kenya, you know, which is fine. That's his democratic right. But like I said, we spend a lot of time, okay, complaining about the problem, acting like we are outraged by what's happening while we do nothing about it. Nothing is done. Nobody's seen it. Why? Because the people who are complaining about the very things that ails the country are deeply, actively participating in breaking the constitution, breaking the laws, looting. Okay? So now, these political alignments that are about to happen ahead of 2027, if you're going to get 2027, I'm not advocating for us to go 2027 because, again, I usually tell you this, guys, it is a done deal. But I'm saying it also shows the selfish nature of these politicians. It exposes how selfish these people are. You see the Ole Ledama, like Kina, whatever the case is, his name is. You see Spooner. You see, you know. Now, they know they're gauging the public and the statute is not popular. And now trying to start to align themselves. They're trying to get to say, to pretend that they're opposing Ruto's regime by criticizing the regime. The paid gas, yes, he's injecting. Yes, he's injecting. Yes, he's injecting. What is he injecting? You see what I'm saying? It is simply an opportunistic move by these individual politicians. Because wameona, this regime is not popular. Their party leader is willing to stick by the unpopular because he wants to eat. He wants to eat up to 2027. Then he will pretend that he's wamekosana na Ruto so that he can play the opposition. Alafu akishashindwa wataenda watafanya hizo shenanigans zao ati tumeibiwa, then go to court and all the whole process, then watarudi maandamano. Alafu after maandamano another handshake, intercontinental intergeneration conclave. Same script. These guys are nothing but opportunists. They're not in for any real change. Now, there was a discussion we didn't end the other day, and I'll bring it to you. So we're here. Kahawa tuko nayo. Chime in. We're in. Usijali. Tuliza boli. Okay? Oh, shoot. So let's continue to give you what you need. There was a discussion that was being held. Again, the Professor Gola discussion with Marco Ure. That I will emphasize about these things. Let me explain that something to you. Let me explain something. The reason why I'm talking to you about this is I want you to understand that these people that we call super senators, these MPs, these popular heads, that popular politician that we view as mythical figures, people who we actually, some of us think they are great. They are nothing but opportunists, con men and women. And in order to take back power, we have to empower ourselves first. How do we empower ourselves? We empower ourselves with the knowledge, knowing that we, the people, are the ones who employed these buffoons. We have the power to take them out. Okay? But at first, since we are all not in one page, we are not all in one page, on one page. Because majority of us still believe these people are actually fighting for us. That's why you are out there screaming, inject. They're injecting. They're not injecting anything. They're opportunities, pretenders, flat-footed pretenders, con women, charlatans. They speak so well, and we think they are saying something. Now, listen very carefully. In order, listen, one ingredient that is always common before a revolution is always a clear understanding by the majority of the population that the system in place is not working. I'm still here. We are still in here. Tuko. We're not going anywhere. Then understand, have a clear understanding, and they are outraged in understanding that the system and the people who are pulling the strings to take advantage of them is not beneficial for the wananchi. Majority of us are still fooled by these charlatans like Sifuna, like Ledama, thinking that they are the young Turks who are at Yaounde. They have balls to speak up even against the political parties they are in. While they are benefiting because they won't resign as a matter of principle. Unaona? Ni mchezo. Ndio maana unaona every electioneering period these people trade horses. Ametoka UDA anaenda ODM anaenda sijui Kenya Kwanza sijui anaenda sijui TNA sijui. It's a joke, it's a game. Because they only care about their political survival. Wengine wamejua they will not be real, so they would rather kwanza wakule mingi ile pesa wanaweza kula before they are voted out, because they know Ruto might go back, but wale huko mashinani in their constituency, they might not be voted back on, and they know that. That's why they're sticking with Ruto. Nyanza, if you're in Nyanza, you have to play ball by ODM. In fact, let me go to Kalwale's tweet, which really was interesting. Let's go there. Let's go to Kalwale. Basically, Kalwale was pointing out the fact that Raila is, senators questioning governors, because senators are supposed to be doing oversight, not oversighting just the counties, but even the executive government, okay? But Raila is not, he doesn't want that, because Raila, as we know, we've heard about it, Raila needs his extortion fee from the ODM governors. You have to pay him. I told you, ODM is a criminal organization. It's a terrorist criminal organization. Mnanisikia? I know some of you think it's a political party. No, it's not. It's a money laundering terrorist organization, ODM. And the head honcho, the crime boss of that ODM terrorist movement is Raila Odinga. Ask those people. Ask the insiders. They'll tell you in secret that this guy extorts every governor and every senator, every MP. Fees to pay monthly. Now, so Uspolipo, you'll not be re-elected. I'm sorry. Get with the program. Now, listen to this pinhead. Sorry. Let's get to another. Let's get to this discussion. I think this discussion was rather interesting between Ogola and Ninio.
Well, and you guys, I think this is a productive conversation. But if we're talking about jobs, ideally governments world over don't create jobs. And we know this to be true. The whole idea of a government has only maybe 800 jobs, and the replacement is the discussion.
Again, this is a very stupid argument. Makaure, Kasmuel says, world over, governments do not create jobs. It's a silly, stupid argument. I mean, for example, the US government is the #1 employer in the US. They employ more people than any other company in the US. Even bigger than Amazon and all this, Google and all this stuff. The US government, the government. So for him to stand there and say, oh, in the world over, government does not employ people or don't produce jobs. You can see this kind of silliness. But let's continue with this stupidity that we are hearing from Kasmuel.
About government performance is going to begin with government creating situations, opportunities.
Yes.
That particular ship sailed.
Yes.
The problems that Kenyans have are not problems in secret. They're in the public domain.
Hold on. I don't know. Hold on. All right.
And I said education and employment.
And how do we realize these things?
It is not difficult. That's why I'm saying these things do not exist in a vacuum.
I agree with you.
Policy-wise, these things should have been realized.
Yes. But they haven't been realized.
They have not been realized.
Precisely.
Despite the fact that we have a live constitution, and we have good politicians Now you need to understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that
I've
we have,
understood you
yes,
perfectly.
and we have good politicians.
Yes, we
in
do,
Bunge.
whom we elected.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Are they not the same people who are supposed to give us these things that we know we want?
They are.
Okay, so now, if we know what we want, why do we elect people who, by experience, by what we've seen, will not give you what you want? And we keep electing them, and then we say we know what we want. Don't you see the contradiction there?
I don't think there's a contradiction. It's the contradiction maybe arises from the point at which we have the discussion. I've been following, and Prof has really held his fort quite well. And you guys, I think this is a productive conversation. But if we're talking about jobs, ideally governments world over don't create jobs. And we know this to be true.
Hold on. I have to chip in my 2 cents. Okay. CT has painted the picture that we have a situation where there are no jobs. Okay. We elect people. Okay. He said that everybody understand what the problem is. Okay. We know what the problem is, but we keep, and this, like Skasmal said, there are these quote unquote good politicians who also understand what the problem is, but they do not work to solve the problem. And CT presents the problem this way. If we understand the problem and these politicians understand what the problem is, but they fail to give you what you need to solve this problem, why then do we keep on electing these politicians that won't give you what you need, even though they understand what the problem is? Again, there's a problem with that. It's a wonderfully presented situation. Okay. Now, if somebody tells you what CT has told you, that okay, we have a politician who understands our needs, what we want done. Okay, and we both know, me and the politician who we re-elected, that this needs to be resolved. But we still vote for that politician. Don't you think there's a question mark there, a big one? Do we really vote for this politician? That's the first question that you should ask yourself, because it does not make sense in any planet, whether it's planet Earth or heaven or whatever the case is. Okay, I don't know what happens in heaven. Let me just say that, okay? But it does not make sense to say that these politicians understand the problems that we face. We understand, we know that they understand what we need, but we still vote them. I think the premise of the question is lacking, is wanting. I would say this. This seems to be a reasonable logic. It is not that we, the people, vote these good politicians that Kasmuel is telling us. That is not the case. Okay? For example, I've for the umpteenth time, I've given an example of Nyanza province, okay? ODM, being the dominant, political party which terrorizes everywhere they hold elections, okay? We've had stories of people getting hacked to death. We'll continue. Yeah? The level of intimidation that takes place in these places that experience this, or Nyanza province that experience this kind of behavior. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is this. The premise of the question is wrong. There's no way you can present a question and say, oh, this, we keep on voting for this politician Hey, leo ameniamkia. But we are not going to stop. We are not going to stop. Ay. And as we wait for that Nenio to load up, like I was saying, you can't argue that and this is it's a very common narrative that people, buy into. Ati, we, the Kenyan voters, we vote for these wrong leaders. No, we never vote for these leaders or so-called leaders, representative. I hate the word leaders because those people are not leaders. They're basically crooks who, presented to themselves before us as servants who are going to serve us, but they turn out to be crooks, and they are now trying to consider themselves leaders. They're not leaders. Okay, these are criminals by all accounts. Anyway, let me see here, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, let me fix it real quick. Let me fix this really quick. Hold on, guys. All right, we're back. So, like I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, I was saying this. Just to reiterate, I'm sorry we are being attacked, whatever is being attacked, but we are going to soldier on because we don't give up. We have to make our point, and I'm going to make my point whether they like it or not. And like I was saying, they are trying to say that the presenter and also Marco is Kasmuel is basically trying to say that the politicians, we have good politicians who understand the problem, and we have voters who keep on voting for these politicians. And CT basically threw that back, by presenting that, is in their contradiction if there's politicians who understand our problem, they fail to do what needs to be done, but we keep on. My argument is the premise of the question is wrong. We do not vote for leaders who refuse to represent us as they should. That narrative we need to erase, deprogram our minds from saying that we keep on voting for leaders that we do not want. I'll use even, for example, it is widely said, known that his deputy was actually the one who people wanted voted in as the governor. But ODM being the dominant, having the financial muscle around the Ugenya area, Siaya, Raila comes from Siaya, they did what they had to do by intimidating voters and all kinds of manner of things, and they had Orengo as the governor. Same thing with every other part in ODM. I'm using ODM as an example, but this happens countrywide. If you go to Rift Valley and run on a UDA ticket, if Ruto comes in and says, ticket, even if the people want you, they will keep quiet by force. So what I'm trying to say is this: there's no real democracy in these places that you're being told we don't vote in these leaders. 90% of these parliamentarians were not voting fair and square, because majority of the challenge elections are always presidential. They never shed light in the dodgy way of which these senators, politicians, these MPs are voted in. Unaelewa? So the prayer by CT is wrong. You can't say there's a neo contradiction there. There's no contradiction. What I'm trying to say is this: these people, we never vote them in. They rig themselves in through their political party that have huge financial muscle that are able to intimidate the IEBC agents, the people who are counting the votes there. And of course, the funds that come from wherever, whether it's from Odinga, Oburu, or whatever, to rig in these politicians that have been rejected by the people. Understand? So we never vote for these criminals. Understand? We shall continue. We are going to add to. We are not stopping. We are not stopping. We are not stopping today. Kama hiyo hata kama wafunge internet tunaendelea. Alota continua. Jaribuni tena. Please try again. Today we are going to have a discussion. Hata mukasirike kwani ni nini? Hata mfunge internet. Yeah. If you're going to watch this or repeat, please make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the good stuff. We are continuing. We are continuing. Team. Haya, tuendelee na hiyo discussion basi. Ndio huyo Kasmil na nani.
The whole idea of a government has only maybe 800 jobs and the replacement
if the discussion about government performance is going to begin with government creating situations, opportunities.
Yes.
That particular ship sailed.
Yes.
The money and its availability lessons within an economy. How on God's earth do you think you're going to be solving even the smallest of problems?
You won't.
Exactly.
You won't. But
no. Let me come in. First of all, thank you very much, Kasmel, for coming. And I'm sure the last day we were very close. It's the last day I was arrested.
Yeah.
And you are coming to we are fighting for my release. I remember at Central. We have paid a heavy price for where we are at the moment. I've been arrested and been in the cell over 12 times. Sometimes we have paid even heavy prices that no one knows, but now I can say. Like, see, that day I was at Central when my wife came to bring me food and she could not be allowed to give me food. She came the next day trying for my release and I could not. So then they came later and told me, Fred, we have talked with the OCS. We pay him your cash bill, then you leave. But I was in the cell with 200 people, many other people. So I said, I cannot leave alone if these boys don't leave. Because we are agreed as a movement that the leaders leave last. So then it's happening. But Kasmel, that day, my wife packed and went to Voi. And she was away for 6 months, said she cannot be marrying somebody in a cell through and out. I went to Voi and knelt several times to get her back. But people don't know that that's not public domain. But now it is now. That is the truth of the matter. We have paid heavy price. Even Kasmel, you paid heavy price. The only thing you cannot pay heavy price, then you cut it short. And I want to tell you, my brother, consistency beats intensity any day. And that's why I remain consistent. I don't want intensity. You did something with a lot of intensity, then you left it. Then without intensity, without consistency, intensity is useless. You get my point? You can win first half of the match, even score 6-0. Then the next half you play badly and you're given 8-6. You lost the match anyway. So I ask people who still believe in progressive movement to insist on that. Now, what you've said, there's no government in the world that creates jobs, that's untrue. And if you believe that, then you should ask the Kenya Kwanza, where Raila Odinga is, and that's your party leader, is signing agreement with countries abroad to take Kenyans to those countries. How can a government of Germany sign agreement with Kenya to take jobs to Germany if Germany cannot create jobs? because that's a fallacy.
Oh, just
So I'm trying to say it's correct that these things have been in the public, that the government of Kenya said we have signed an agreement to take 500,000 young people abroad with another government, government to government, G to G. And then if you believe that governments cannot create jobs, why do they sign those agreements?
But let me just a little maybe on that. That's not what I meant. The role of government is to enable good conducive environments for entrepreneurs to create. Because if a government, like in that case that Prof has put out, what it's doing is just transfer of jobs. Like if a government says that it wants to, a politician, let's say the president says he wants to invest in an infrastructure project like affordable housing or this dueling of the Rironi Mau Summit Highway, and then they say it will create jobs. If you think about it critically in the economic environment, what it has done is it's just transfer of jobs. So if it is going to cost the taxpayer 100 billion, this is 100 billion people who've been taken to Mjengo. It's just a transfer. That's what I'm saying, that instead of focusing on saying we want to build this big economic project, what it's supposed to do, because the thing that makes people not create jobs is...
Okay, does this idiot knows about that he knew that Eisenhower, what is he called? The Eisenhower, whatever. When US was under getting off depression, what did the Eisenhower do? He came out and went to this the people who had money, the watu ambao kuna pesa. Akawambia, we are going to rebuild US. I'm just using the US as an example. He told us we have to improve our infrastructure, our road system. We have to build parks. We have to revitalize our manufacturing sector. Okay, that was what the government was doing, and so he was working with them. Yes, some of them, the private sector, but also things like the infrastructure, roads. The government employed people, engineers, vijana wa mkono, wale watu wanafanya watu wa mjengo. Endeni hapo mnaandikwa tutawalipa. You understand? So the government was employing people directly and also working with the private sector. Create jobs. It is just entrepreneur to create entrepreneur. Not everyone shall be an entrepreneur. Please understand that. This pinhead, that's what this doesn't understand. Ati anasema ati government haiwezi kukuandika kazi, ati it just has to create an environment for entrepreneurs. Not everyone shall be entrepreneur. Not everyone shall be Steve Jobs. Not everyone shall be Bill Gates. Not everyone shall be Mark Zuckerberg. Unaelewa? So this is what this young man does not get. It is not just creating an environment for good, for entrepreneurship or for business. It is not that. It goes beyond that. It actually employs people. Sahi, Ruto, what can he do? Anaweza kwenda what do you call it? Is it Rivertex? So this Mumias Sugar, Muhoroni Sugar. Okay? Nationalize it. Then Andika youth. Buy new equipment. Modern. Train these youth. The engineers ambao use them to work in this industry. Train them. Employ them in that factory that is owned by the government, which is the people taxpayers factory. These are ways that the government actually meant for entrepreneurship or business. It also actually employs people. So this argument is silly. It comes from somebody who does not understand how economies work. But let's listen in for shits and giggles. Let's go on. Tuendelee.
There's a lot of red taping. There's a lot of bureaucracy that you look at it and you say, no, I would rather go and work in Rwanda.
There's no red taping. There's no bureaucracy. It is called corruption. Call it for what it is. Okay? Munaiba pesa, munaenda kudanganya vijana tutawapeleka kazi huko Saudi Arabia, ati kuna job Saudi Arabia so that you can get paid Saudi millionaires, so Kenyans abused and used huko Saudi Arabia rather than create jobs here. Macau is not Mutua. Alfred Mutua should be in jail for human trafficking, hanged to death.
As Prof consulting for a foreign government is because it's easier. There's less red taping there. This expertise for
No,
him
it's
to-
not red taping.
Yes.
Casmuel.
Yes.
Fred Ogola
Yes.
was fired by the president for having said the truth, the economy cannot work. So how can I work in Kenya? I can't. So even you, like now, these young people being charged with terrorism, how will they ever work in Kenya? So the issue is not just about creating, they're actually killing jobs. And I want to say that if you look at even saying the government does not create jobs, affordable housing, the bottom-up economic model, that the fact that ODM and UDA are in agreement to work together, it is about government creating jobs for the people.
But that's
And
what I'm
I
saying.
said that is the wrong thinking. And let me explain properly here.
Yeah.
The thinking of the Kenya Kwanza government, when they came with the better bottom-up economic transformation agenda, was affirmative action economic theology, thinking that it's like you are a father at home, a child cries, is hungry, you give them a mandazi. Someone cries, you give them samosa. Someone cries, give them a sausage. But instead of guaranteeing food security at home where there's breakfast, there is lunch, there is dinner, for you throw money where there's a problem. Now, State House, 1 billion spent in 1 day in affirmative action. As structural economists, we should do what you're trying to say, creating an enabling environment, should say there's free primary education. Now, someone can now start supplying pencil.
Yes.
Someone can supply a
Desks.
book and earn for themselves. When I was Kibaki's economic advisor, I was also working with the Housing Finance Bank. My colleagues left the bank saying, there is business booming, I cannot be employed. You get me? Who has quit their jobs today because the economy is booming because of Kenya Kwanza? They can't. So the government now is doing both. Instead of creating jobs for people and also creating an enabling environment for people to get jobs, killing the
Would rather go and work in Rwanda. Why is Prof consulting for a foreign government? Is because it's easier. There's less red taping there. This expertise for
No. It's not red taping.
Yes.
Casmuel.
Yes.
And I want to say that if you look at even in saying that the government does not create jobs, affordable housing, map economic model, that the fact that ODM and UDA are in agreement to work together, it is about government creating jobs for the people.
But that's
And
what
I said that is the wrong thinking. And let me explain properly here.
Yeah.
The economic, you are a father cries, you give them some more.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the the NIS agents are working overtime today, but we shall soldier on. We shall soldier on. We are not giving up. We are never giving up. We have to. We have to go on. The show must go on. The show must go on. Tunaendelea. Tuendelee tusiendelee. Haya, tuendelee basi.
To create jobs, but also not giving those jobs. Because if you say that affordable housing giving people jobs, do you know any neighbor of yours, a relative, a friend, or even someone in your WhatsApp group who confirms they are now working in affordable housing? I don't know. I only know people sending me, Professor, here, my CV. You know, I heard you are working in Uzima University. Give me a CV here. I saw you going to Rwanda. Please, can you take me there? That's what I'm hearing.
But
I'm not hearing people getting these jobs. So the economic thinking of these people is not working. And I want to tell Kasmel to tell me now that he left the issue of transition government right now. Nane, we're with you, my brother. By the way, I just don't respect you. I also love you as a brother.
Yeah.
But as a brother, I also have to advise you. And I think we met one day and we had our chat somewhere. And I told you, consistency beats everything. And if you join here, tell me what is the economic ideology of ODM that can transform Kenya.
Right.
Tell me that economic ideology of Kenya Kwanza that now you guys are working with that can transform Kenya. So tell a woman, a mother, a brother listening to us, why they should wait for you until 2027 as we dialogue. How that dialogue will solve these current problems. If you don't have that answer, please join me. I think let's do transition government.
I can answer that question, but also
Before he answers, he says, "Can you explain how?" Yeah, this economic sijui bottom up, bottom down, sijui bottom angoa. How is that? How has it transformed the lives of Kenyans? Which even Raila brought his experts to join Wakinambadi and these useless people, drug barons that are in there. Yeah? How has it helped the people? And why should we give you more time till 2027 to fix things? And we've obviously seen that nothing is working. Can you tell us? Let us listen to this Kasmuel's response to that. That's a very good question by Prof.
one, I would love to maybe rebut what you've just said, because even as you've waxed lyrical about Kibaki's government, the contexts are very different, because I was alive at that time. Kibaki does all these things that people talk about in terms of the economy doing double digits in comparison to the double decimals that you would say are happening now. But
Double decimals.
yes,
Yeah,
but
don't do so.
yes, no, in this particular context,
Right.
he fails to get a second term. The thing that I feel like you're glossing over is that there were grave human rights violations in Kibaki's government, so bad that a man who gave people that money, which we speak of, could not get a second term in terms of re-election. So
Yeah, but you're conflating the issues. Yes, Kibaki, messed up through the atrocities and the violations of human rights and all so forth. Basically, to the point of the professor, he was saying that when Kibaki took over from Moi, of course the context is different. We were coming out of the 24-year period of Moi's stagflation. So yes, Kibaki came in, tried a bunch of things, and his initial economic policies were a breath of fresh air. Free education, business was booming, government was creating an environment where business could boom and people were being employed. Government was doing the very things we were talking about, okay? So that's what he's saying. Let's compartmentalize the two. This was the economic part of it. But what messed up for Kibaki was he reverted back to what people abhorred during Moi's regime, which was the violations of human rights, atrocities that he was performing, the extrajudicial killings, the blah, blah, blah. But economically speaking, initially, he was on point. And that's what the professor is challenging you on, where the context might be different, but the economic policies that were in place are stark difference. There's stark difference between that. So can you address that? You're trying to make it a human rights issue, which is, yes, I see what you're saying, but you cannot deny the kind of economic improvement that we kind of Kenyans enjoyed a little bit during Kibaki. Again, it was messed up after Nino. So yeah, don't conflate the issues, Mr. Kasumul. Go ahead.
Sometimes when we jump through the arguments conveniently, saying when we look at Kibaki now, we just want to look at this thing and we want to look at, if I were to say, I really don't like to do this because I am not supposed to speak about people. There's no ecology that be brought into a government.
Hey, wait, who says that?
I do. That's the case I'm making right now.
But
we have a team of experts. Let me explain. You must allow me to learn that there is a government that Kenyans were given two options. We said kuna hii azimio la vijana, azimio la masomo, azimio la wamama. And then we gave you this. Then someone gave you a bottom-up economic transfer. Then you said,
first of all, the president decided to compensate the victims of violence during Mandamano and the days when people were being killed or whatever the case is during the previous regime or whatever the case is. What has that have to do with the economic policies? His economic policy. You're not answering the question. You are mixing up the two. You're telling me the goodies or the perceived wonderful things that this administration is doing. For the first time, this administration is compensating the victims of. First of all, compensating the victims does not, by any stretch of imagination, tell us that this guy is doing something well. So that does mean that we tunaenda tukienda mandamano, which is our constitution, they're supposed to chart and to kill, they pay you, compensate you. What kind of reasoning? So this whole compensation does not make it right. It does not wash the sins of this administration, which is taking the lives of innocent protesters who are there protesting the economic policies that do not work. Ruto does not have any economic policy. Ruto's regime and Raila joining him and ODM is a criminal enterprise. It is not an economic, they don't have an economic policy or philosophy. It's okay. I told you, ODM is a terrorist group, criminal enterprise run by Raila Odinga. Ruto is a criminal that is leading, and the Kenyan regime is criminal haven. Okay, so it's about what they are doing, but we shall listen to you for the sake of.
We want this bottom-up one. Then now, in the middle, during the time of a crisis, I go to the streets, you come to the streets, and we do this thing, and we upset.
Yeah. Mm.
Remember, it is not we who had these ninis who joined the government. The pact is signed between ODM and UDA. We do not see UDA relinquishing influential power.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know we are being attacked, but we are going to soldier on. Like I said, do not worry. We are going to tunaendelea. Hata wakijaribu nini, tutaendelea. Kwani nini? We are not going to stop, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to soldier on. We are going to soldier what? Soldier on. Tunaendelea. Hata hawezi kustop hii stream. We shall endelea. Mfanye vile mnataka. Fanyeni vile mnataka. Let's go. All right, let's go.
Do this because I am not paid to do it. I'm supposed to be speaking about Youth League people. For whatever reason, this is the first president who sat down and said any compensation. And halfway through its term.
Wait, who says that?
I do. That's the case I'm making right now.
But
So you
surely-
elected. No,
We
we
have a
gave you.
team of
Let me
experts.
explain. Let me explain.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about it. We are on it. The vita between good and evil. We are going to win. We are going to win. We are not stopping here. To the Lenny.
You're glossing over is that there were grave human rights violations in Kibaki's government. So bad that a man who gave people that money, which we speak of, could not get a second term in terms of re-election. So when we jump through the arguments conveniently, saying when we look at Kibaki now, we just want to look at this thing and we want to look at. If I were to say, I really don't like to do this because I am not paid to do it. I'm supposed to be speaking about youth league people. For whatever reason, this is the first president who sat down and said anything to do with compensation of protests. ODM's position right now, Fred, if we are to be honest, there is no economic ideology that can be brought into a government halfway through its term.
Wait, who says that?
I do. That's the case I'm making right now.
But
So you
surely-
elected. No, we
We have
gave
a
you.
team of
Let me
experts.
explain. You must allow me to learn that there is a government that Kenyans were given two options. We said kuna hii azimio la vijana, azimio la masomo, azimio la wamama. And then we gave you this. Then someone gave you a bottom-up economic transfer. Then you said we want this bottom-up one. Then now in the middle, during the time of a crisis, I go to the streets, you come to the streets, and we do this thing and we upset. Remember, it is not we who had these ninis who joined the government. The pact is signed between ODM and UDA. We do not see UDA relinquishing influential power to ODM in such a way that ODM can transform.
Kasmuel.
Yes.
Before even CT says, why then was Raila the other day telling us, give us more time, while he says he's not part of the government? Why is he telling us, give us more time, as if he's part of the government? Are you in the government or not? If you say, give us till 2027 more time so we can bring change, that implies that Raila acknowledges that it's part of this government, part of this regime. So, Kasmuel, stop. You are not convincing anybody.
You have experienced change in mid-sentence, mid-activity. When you had that beautiful protest that you people had,
Yes.
which essentially was a party,
Yes.
quiet, peaceful, wonderful. When your life was in danger, you took flight. That's changing.
Yes.
That was not your plan.
Yes.
But when you saw danger coming, you realized here, my friend, I'd better look for safety. If you have a policy and you thought it would work and it isn't working, what stops you mid-sentence or mid-term to say, guys, this thing isn't working the way I thought?
Right.
What stops you? Because if you want to be honest with your citizens, you say, guys, this is what we thought.
But
then-
Muga, before he replies, what you could have done, Caswell, instead of telling us we should go for dialogue, you should come with that ideology and tell Ruto, we will work with you in condition that you either do this or give us something better.
And Prof, I'll tackle both. CT, the question you've asked is more suitable for the sitting president, and I'll mirror back to you. Then that if you see that this is problematic and it's not working, I should be able to face the people. Then it means that the person who's at the top is not seeing that his plan is not working. So how can
Actually,
But the very reason why you joined in, as your party leader told us, was to actually help the president steer the country into the right direction. So obviously, the question is, the buck stops with the president, yes. But the very reason why you joined the Ruto's regime was to help him to understand that. So you can't say that this question is solely on Ruto's then in your lap. It also goes to you. That is why you came into a whatever MOU with him. Okay? So don't mirror that question back to City.
how can they experience change
he
mid-sentence?
does.
Uh-huh. In
If
what
it
way?
didn't, ODM would not be where they are right now. He saw it was his solution to the problem. This indication of that sitting government, it is
I don't want to leave here. Wacha niseme nitoke. You've said that this is the first president who has declared
All right, let's go back. We're still in, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Hold on. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, do not worry about it. Tuko. Hata kama wanajaribu kutumaliza. Hii hakuna, tunaendelea. Tusiendelee. Tunaendelea. It has been decided. So ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with this discussion.
you in condition that you either do this or give us something better.
And Prof, I'll tackle both. CT, the question you've asked is right back to you. Then that problem takes work issue to fit people. Then he's a person so how can they experience change
actually
mid-sentence?
does.
In
If
what
it
way?
didn't, ODM would not be where they are right now. He saw that was his solution to the problem, because there is a problem. These handshakes in Kenya arise when there's a problem. A patent one, and there's a position of board of
Okay.
Who has declared compensate people?
Because
Kasmel, this is what is my biggest pain. The president's duty is to use the resources given to him, which is taxpayers' money, the natural resources, and the human resources in Kenya to create opportunities for the young people he is killing. His work is not to take our money, kill people with the money, bury them with the money, Kenyan money, because the money he gives for burials, government declares we shall take care of that burial because I've killed you, I'll take care of that burial. Then secondly, compensate your mother. How does my mother feel if you take my money, because the Kenyan taxpayers' money is being used to kill me with DCI and all those people? After you kill like Ojwang, compensate him, compensate their mothers, then now we are compensating you with Kenya's money. Who killed Ojwang? That person should compensate Ojwang. Who killed Kariuki? Who killed Julia Njoki? Who killed Bridget? And then the state funds are being used to compensate them. Then you create a job for Professor Kamau Mutua, who, as we speak, has started earning. No Kenyan has been given money for now, but he's in office now, earning money, enjoy government something of power that he is going to compensate people. My brother, this is a scam. Such things should not
He
be
said he's
given to
actually
me.
compensating people from, was it 2018 or 2017 protests? But I'm sure you will have a chance to respond to that. I'd like you to finish the second part of the question. I was
Ai. Sibunipatie ningoje hata mimi pia niongee kidogo. You see how empty this an empty suit this Kasmuel guy is. He's an empty suit. He's an empty suit. It gets better, but it's been 1 hour 21 minutes. I would like to go on, but I will stop here just for the sake of time. You can see how you know, whether it's PM, whether it's TNA, whether it's the opposition, Gachagua are useless. They cannot lead Kenya anywhere. I will leave it here. We shall continue next time, maybe tomorrow, this evening, so we can keep on having this discussion. So like, share, subscribe, comment, do everything. At wale watu ambao wanaangalia kwa X, please come to YouTube now. Subscribe, like, share, do all the good stuff. Okay. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. I'll leave it here. Peace and blessings. I'll see you later. I'm out.